Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your good pal me back at it with another week, another game in the NPL. The worst one, not the good one that we usually get tossed around in. Though at the moment that would be kind of confusing since we've been doing that in both. Regardless, this is week 5, or is it? Yes, it's week 5. We are 2-2 now after dropping our first 2 games. We beat Deebs and then Aaron in a nice 6-0 last week, so now we're 1 at a neutral record and 2 at a positive differential, which is very promising. However, things will not get easy. Things are going to get much more difficult with the next string of games we have ahead. We have a very tough schedule to end the season, even though we're not even halfway done. And to start that off, we're playing Omega, coach of the Chicago Carracostas. He is one of the fetuses. He is an up-and-comer. He's a really good player. This is the first time, I'm pretty sure that I've done mocks and things with him before and had kind of like we've done speed draft games before, but this is our first real matchup, which is pretty exciting because I've known Omega for a long time, and I know that he's been really coming into his own as a draft league player, and that he's starting to gain traction in the community, which I think is pretty rad. And then I kind of see myself more as one of those old boys that's kind of been in this specific community for a very long time. So it's kind of a mix of old and new, which I think is kind of neat. But anyways, I'm rambling, so let's talk about the teams. Not in the order as drafted. He has Mega Pidge, Cobalion, Mew, Zygarde 50% with Z-moves, Darmanitan, Z-Kangaskhan, Klefki, Serena, Spiritomb, Toxapex, and Stunfisk. So I really think that he drafted a really fantastic team. He did make some changes. It was looking a little different originally, but his core mons are just really fantastic. Mew, Zygarde, Toxapex are like 3 mons that are just consistently super good. He's been using Cobalion very well. I haven't seen too much Mega Pidge usage so far, but it's definitely a threat. Stunfisk is always a threat. I think he recently picked up the Spiritomb, which is actually going to be a little annoying for one mon in particular on my team, though for the most part, Spiritomb shouldn't be too big of an issue. He's got spikes and screens and all that annoying stuff that Klefki does, which I dislike facing. Toxapex is a pretty large problem for my team, given that I only have a few mons that can effectively kill it, and it walls a large portion of my team. Some of my biggest threats to his team, if I was able to get rid of Pex somehow, then it basically checks a lot of my big threats. It checks my Lop. It stops Lopunny from doing anything. Among other mons, it stops Whimsicott. It can wall the Hydreigon potentially, though it's no counter to Hydreigon because of Hydreigon's move pool. It beats Moltres indefinitely pretty much, unless you can find a way to hacks through it with like Hurricane Confusion. Seismitoad really can't do a ton of damage against it, and it can like Toxic stall it out. Skarmory is like unless you got some heat Skarmory sets and you don't get Scald Burnt, then it's not beating it. P2 just gets walled, even though it can hit it super effectively, it gets walled and stalled by it. Audino's an Audino. Marini, like, it's baby Pex, so I really considered bringing Marini to this game just because of the fact that T-Spikes were so good against my team, and this is my only way to absorb them. But the one big bright side is Reuniclus is an absolutely free switch into the Toxapex, and Reuniclus is a very big problem against his team. Looking at these speed tiers, Megalop outspeeds everything, which is nice. Whimsicott has a nice speed tier that I'm not going to bring in this game. Just because of the way he builds, I didn't think that Whimsicott would be useful. I've been seeing a lot of like Dragon Dance Z Zygarde, so I wouldn't be surprised to see like a Z Iron Tail or like Z Sludge Wave or something to just pick off the Whimsicott and then spam 1,000 arrows, since my team's fairly arrows weak. Mew is a big threat since it can check a lot of my team. It can outspeed stuff, and it's a Mew, and Mew's great. I might have taken Mew if Omega did not draft it before me. Yeah, like Darm's always a big threat. Okay, so I just got interrupted by my roommate walking in, college life, so I had no idea what I was talking about, so forgive me, but yeah, his team is full of threats and stuff. Mew, Zygarde, Cobalion's going to be really annoying for this one. I'll talk about Cobalion a little bit. Coba's pretty nice against my team. I don't know if he'll be able to pack all the coverage I hope you guys don't hear my annoyingly loud hallmates, but I don't think I'll be able to pack coverage for everything on my team. Like, I'm torn between if he'll want to bring like a Shuka set with like HP Ice to check my Landorus, or a Choppleberry set to check Lopunny. Most likely Shuka, but since he is very ground weak, like his ground resists are Serena and Pidge, neither of which take a Z move at all, so like he's gonna have a really hard time with Landorus if I'm able to play it right, and I'll talk about that a little bit as we get in the builder. But yeah, basically Landorus is a huge threat against him, and I like Hydreigon. Lopunny, if I can somehow get rid of Pex, is fantastic against him. And basically, let's just kind of hop into the builder. So first thing we got is a Mega Lop. Just running Jolly this week. No Adamant. I'm just outrunning max speed Mega Pidge, I think. I might be meta creeping. I don't remember, honestly. I'm running Pup, Facade, High Jump Kick, Fake Out. Just Dual Stab this week because Dual Stab's all I need, really. Basically, the idea behind this set is if he can get those T-Spikes up, or he Scald Burns me at the Toxapex, and I get a Power-Up Punch off, or a 2, then Facades are doing a lot of damage to his whole team. His normal resists are not very good, and his normal resists don't take fighting hits at all. There's a few things I overlooked with this. I could have packed on... Encore would have been very helpful for a few different mons on his team. I kind of wish I was able to put it on there, but this set's still nice against his team, and Return might have just been overall better since it let me hit the Mew harder, which Mew could be definitely a big problem to this team. But overall, this is a nice set. If, like, I was able to get Scald Burnt or something, and I had like 1 or 2 Pup boosts, then Facade is just like killing stuff. Obviously, big threats would be Rocky Helmet mons. I did expect like a Rocky Helmet Mew or Rocky Helmet Pex. Maybe like a Helmet Serena or Klefki. Essentially expected some sort of mon to have a helmet. And if not that, he'll definitely have some Scarfers and like Priority and that sort of stuff on his team. And like Fizdef Mew can take hits and that whole sort of thing. Yeah. So next we've got a Landorus. Now, Landorus is a huge threat to his team. I'm rocking Phytinium Z with EQ, U-Turn, Stealth Rock Superpower. Max HP, 148 attack Adamant, and 116 defense. My defensive investments on this thing are here to let me take, I believe, a +1 Z Outrage from the Zygarde after rocks. This also allows me to take 2 Adamant Choice Banded 1,000 arrows from the Zygarde, and then be able to do whatever against it. This thing's very useful for the fact that it threatens everything on his team. I have Z Superpower on this thing because I was kind of anticipating him to be like a Shukaberry or a Magnet Rise kind of Cobalion. That was the main reason. And Z Superpower is just pretty good against his team. Like, it can knock out the Pidge, it knocks out Koba, it does a lot of damage to Zygarde. I think it does a little more than EQ does, though I'm not certain on that. And those were the main things, like hit Serena in this case. I'm not running any speed on this, because I just figured that I really wanted a more tank kind of set on this, since it lets me check potential SD Cobalion, which would be a very big threat. Teams with P2 are generally weak to Cobalion, and this is no exception, though I do have some nice checks. And my team is overall pretty fighting weak, so I do have a few fighting checks. I did have to throw on like all my fighting checks to be able to deal with that. U-Turn's nice for momentum, and I'm Adamant with still a lot of investment, so it's going to be hitting his team very hard, even though I'm not maxed out. This thing gets up my rocks, which is pretty good. And with some of the techs I have on my, well, not techs, but with some of the plans I have on my team, this thing can become very, very dangerous against him. Because basically I'm going to bring, I've got some paralysis inducement on this team. We've got my P2, which is just Violate, Recover, T-Wave, Discharge, Ice Beam. So we've got, I really want to slow things down because like Fast Mew, Fast Zygarde, wait, I can't paralyze the Zygarde. That was, never mind. Like Fast Mew, Cobalion, Pidgeot potentially. All those things are really fast. Now outspeed my Landorus and my Hydreigon in particular, and so if I can paralyze them, then I can outrun them and then do big damage to them, which is pretty neat. So this is a bit of an obnoxious set. This is the first time I've ever ran a Max P2, just because I haven't needed to before, but I needed a way to keep his Darm and his Zygarde in check. I really wasn't that afraid of his special attackers like Pidgeot. He could, I know there are some sets around that could beat a set like this, but I do have my Lop which can revenge it, which is fine with me, and P2 still isn't two-shotted. Even with no investment, it's not two-shotted by Hurricane from Pidgeot, which is pretty good. And overall, Pidgeot just wasn't really that huge of a threat in this game. I just have ways to check it, and it can't really OHKO, and it can't outspeed and OHKO anything that I'm bringing. So, yeah. This thing's just, it's very important since it can eat hits from his biggest offensive threats. Discharge is here just because I want to fish for paras against like the Cobalion, and if like he's a Taunt Mew or something, then I want to be able to slow that thing down. And also, if I am able to paralyze the Mew, that will paralyze me as well, but I'd much rather have this thing paralyzed than I would have it poisoned. So that was just kind of something to consider. Trace in this game, I don't think Trace is going to be all that useful, but I didn't think that Analytic would be much more appealing. Oh yeah, the big thing I wanted Trace for was to copy Regenerator from Pex, because that could be pretty nice. Aside from that, there's like no other abilities I care about, but being able to trace regens from him, I showed off the team, whoops, doesn't matter. You'll see it anyways, but yeah, being able to trace the Regenerator could be helpful. I really like that aspect of P2, being able to take advantage of my opponents, even if it's not clicking a move, just coming in and switching out. So next, I finally am bringing Moltres out. Been excited to use this thing all season, and I'm rocking a Choice Scarf set. U-Turn, Hurricane, Fire Blast, HP Ice, nothing crazy on this. This is here to help give me another thing that can revenge stuff like the Pidgeot. If he's banded Zygarde, then I can revenge it with HP Ice. It gives me a thing that's a little difficult for him to switch into. It lets me revenge kill the Cobalion, which is nice. It pressures stuff like Klefki and Serena. The one caveat is that Toxapex completely walls this thing forever, since my only move to hit is Hurricane, which 1, doesn't do that much damage, and 2, can miss, so for the most part, this thing's going to be here to grab me momentum, which is very important, or to revenge kill things that are trying to set up in my face. Also, the nice thing is, since I have U-Turn, I have 2 Mon, and his easiest switch in ever is Toxapex to this thing. I have 2 Mons in Reuniclus and Landorus, which can take advantage of Pex, and he really doesn't have good switch-ins to either, so I decided to stray away from the more bulky defensive sets, and I'm rocking an offensive Reuniclus this week with Life Orb, Magic Guard, Psychic, Shadow Ball, Trick Room, and Recover. Now, I'm able to get away with 2 attacks on this thing just because his team is very Psychic weak, and the things that Psychic can't hit, Shadow Ball covers very nicely. He has the Spiritomb, which I was really hoping he wouldn't bring it, because if he didn't, then I just click Psychic forever against his team, and Modest Life Orb Psychics from a base 125 Mon are very strong. So I have 2 purposes for this thing. This is always a switch into Toxapex, which is fantastic. I don't care about getting Skull Burnt, I don't care about getting poisoned by the T-Spikes or whatever. This thing can just always come in. This gives me a check to the Cobalion, since it's unlikely he'll be an SD set, just given that he needs so many moves to hit my team, I feel, and it still is suboptimal when I have like Lop and Landorus, which are really good against SD Cobalions, and if he's Double Dance, then I should be able to wall it with like my Moltres or something like that. And so these 3 moves give me a thing that's a really nice offensive pivot tank sort of thing, and then Trick Room makes this thing a huge offensive threat in the late game, or anytime I'm able to weaken stuff down, get rid of a potential Spiritomb or Klefki, then this thing can really just dish out some damage against him, which is pretty nice. So yeah, like, nothing too crazy on this thing, but it's definitely something that I haven't brought yet this season, and I definitely think it's an enormous threat against his team. Lastly, we've got my Mean Burb, my Hydreigon, this cool little set, lefties with Defog, Dark Pulse, Draco Meteor, and T-Wave. Did I mention that I was trying to paralyze stuff? The easy way to explain this is that Omega's a good player and I wanted all the luck I could get, but T-Wave is here because I really wanted a way to just lure stuff like the Cobalion and the lure stuff out like Koba. That was the main one. Like, I just wanted to paralyze the Cobalion. Also paralyzing Toxapex because if worst came to worst, like, Earth Power is really not doing much to Toxapex, and being able to paralyze it and potentially Dark Pulse, fish for Dark Pulse flinches plus para, can whittle that thing down and also gets me leftovers recovery. Since I'm not packing Roost on this thing, I want to make sure that I'm getting recovery as much as I can. I'm trying to remember what my investments do on this thing. I'm pretty sure my special attack is here to make sure I OHKO a max HP Zygarde, since I want to kill that thing dead. This is a great Zygarde check, since if he's a non-DD variant or he isn't set up, then I just OHKO with Draco. Unless he clicks Outrage, he can't one-shot me. This thing can take 2 Ice Beams from uninvested Mew, which is pretty nice with lefties. I take some hits from the Darmanitan. I can defog, which is very important to keep T-Spikes off if I really want to keep if I'm more interested in keeping my P2 and my Lop healthy. And it was also here to make sure that Klefki couldn't just hazard stack freely against me, since spikes would be a little problematic, though I do have several mons that don't really care about spikes. Lop and P2 are the only ones that are affected, but they really don't like spikes. So yeah, that's the team, and let's hop into this match. So Omega ends up bringing Koba, Zyg, Pex, Mew, Darm, and Spiritomb, so something like I was expecting. I really wasn't sure what he'd bring, since a lot of his mons had a good chance of coming against me, like stuff like Serena, Klefki, Mega Pidge, Stunfisk all had a good shot, I felt like, but so nothing surprised me here. I was a little disappointed to see the Spiritomb, since I just wanted to have free Psychic spam against his team, but alas, we can't. So looking at this, his most likely rocker is going to be Cobalion, since I don't think he'll want to run Rocks Mew, since Mew has a lot of potential against my team. He's probably going to pack T-Spikes on Pex, mainly for the fact that my Poison type has not come once this season in Marini, and I didn't think Marini had a good matchup in this, since he has Mew and Zygarde, which, shit on it. Yeah, Zygarde's going to be annoying, Cobalion's going to be really annoying. I want to paralyze that thing so that I can like my Landorus can outspeed it and that sort of thing. And I know Omega's a good player, he's creative, so I'm not really sure what he's going to do, but I'm going to lead with my Moltres, because I had a feeling that since I do have Moltres, that means he's like, oh, big Stealth Rock weak mon, I'm going to want to get my rocks up ASAP, so and I was pretty sure they'd be Rocks Koba, so let's get into it. I'm going to lead with my Scarf Moltres, he's going to lead off with his Koba, and I am just going to U-turn right on out of there, so it doesn't tell me much about his team. Like, I have no idea what his spread is. He could be so many different variations of Toxapex, and U-turn does 5. U-turns non-stab, non-attack boosted. Special attackers clicking U-turn on walls does not give you a good idea of how much investment they have on stuff, since that did absolutely 0. But we are able to see that he is Black Sludge, which is good to know. That means he's not Helmet, which is important for me, because that means I can much more freely click like Fake Out and Pup against his team, and I just have to make sure I know what this Muse item is, though I didn't really think it'd be Helmet. I was more thinking Helmet Pex. I'm going to get my rocks here because I want to be able to pressure his team, pressure his switch-in, since I'm going to need momentum in this. And I'm just going to go to my Rooney here because I didn't think he'd pack anything to really hit him. The Ice Beam damage tells me he is uninvested on his Mew. I'm anticipating it to be very fast to outrun my Hydreigon, and at least outrun my Landorus. So, and it would make sense that he just want to outrun Hydreigon too. I know he's going to go into Spiritomb here, and I'm just going to click Shadow Ball. He's got the damage out. I couldn't really tell what kind of spread that was. I knew he had a fair bit of special defense, and he's going to pull a really nice switch here as I go into my Hydreigon as he goes Cobalion. I know he's going to get his rocks up here now. I'm just going to go for the T-Wave. I guess if I just had like Fire Blast instead right here, I would have just fired. That would have been better, but I think T-Wave's better for the long run since I'm a bulkier set, and it helped me versus a few other things. I'm going to defog here because I really didn't think he'd click Close Combat. And unfortunately he gets paired. He did click it, though we did exchange sets after the match, and I knew that he was he wouldn't have been able to kill me. So it was a little unfortunate, but that's kind of why you click T-Wave. He makes another nice double as I go into Landorus as he reads that. I'm making kind of obvious plays right now because I didn't think I needed to play super aggressively, but he's going to go back into Mew, which is scary. I'm going to go into my Moltres right here as he sets up Calm Mind. Now that's scary. At this point I was like, oh crap, I really don't have anything for a Calm Minding Mew. I go for the U-turn. This shows me a few things. One, he's not Rocky Helmet, and he's not Leftovers, so I'm assuming he's probably some sort of berry, most likely Culver for like Hydreigon at this point. And that damage tells me he's just max HP. He doesn't have like any physical defense in him, so more likely than not he's like max speed, max HP sort of thing. So now I don't have Encore, but I'm just going to try to bluff Encore or bluff the fact that Fake Out plus Return can knock this thing out or something like that. And I'm just hoping right here that after the Fake Out damage does a lot, I'm just hoping that he's not going to risk a crit. He's going to be afraid of me being Encore, something like that. So I'm just going to really hope he switches out. And here I'm going to click Power Up Punch. Now, the reason I click Power Punch right here is not because I was fully predicting him to switch out. I thought his two plays right here were either to click his Recovery or to switch out into Toxapex. Now, I didn't think he'd Soft Boil, or he'd go for the Psychic move right here, just because that would leave him in range of, like, he didn't know my sets fully, and I didn't think he would click Psyshock, that's all I'm trying to say. He's going to go into Pex as I click Power Punch. Now here I just want to see if he is Haze. I hope you guys can't hear that, but my room's very excited. My hall is very excited about Fortnite. I really hope you can't hear that because it's annoying as fuck. But anyways, back to the game. I click another Power Up Punch, just seeing if he's Haze or not. I wasn't sure if he would be, but he goes for the Scald, which kind of tells me he might not be Haze, which is, he's not, he's really good for me. I was hoping I'd get the burn here because then I could just knock him out with a +2 Facade. I go for the Facade right here. It does 52% as he Scalds again. He does not get the burn yet again, which I was hoping for the burn. Now here he actually has to sack him on, and he's going to sack his Zygarde. It does half with the Facade. That shows me he's very fat. And because he was really fat, I just let it be Choice Banded. And I ran a few calcs, Adamant Banded. E-Speed does not knock out my Lop, and I don't want to deal with this Zygarde at all, so I'm just going to go ahead and bite the bullet and take this hit. He does go for the E-Speed, it is banded, and I'm going to be able to knock him out with Facade, so Lop takes out the Zygarde, which is good. Now he's going to go into Darm. Now, I have no reason to sack off my Lopunny. I know this thing's going to be Scarfed, and even if he's not, I can just go into my Moltres here. I thought he'd Flare Blitz, and I had a good chance to not get two-shotted by it. Now, because of the team he brought, Moltres really isn't that useful. As we've seen from the Cobalion, he's Stealth Rock, which tells me he's probably not SD. So Moltres just, and it's already paralyzed, so I don't need to outspeed it with this specifically. And just the fact that he has CMU and Toxapex, which can kind of beat me down, means that I don't really need my Moltres. I don't want anything else taking the damage. I don't want to risk my P2 getting crit or anything, because I'm just going to want that thing for later, for mainly to be able to paralyze the Mew so I can flinch it down with my Hydreigon. Like, that was one of the plans that I had to consider, given that I'm really weak to that CMU. He's going to Flare Blitz. He shows me that he is non-banded, or non-boosting. He needed a pretty high roll to knock me out. He gets it. I'm not too upset about it. I was just going to click a U-turn right there. Now I'm going to go to my Landorus, and I'm just going to click EQ, because he can 2-hit KO me with Flare Blitz, and at this point it seemed pretty clear to me that he was just going to sack it off for damage. Now I'm going to switch out into my Hydreigon as he goes Mew. He gets the crit here, which is a little annoying, because of the fact that I took 2 of those. So I could have scared this thing out, gone for the Dark Pulse, I could have gone for the T-Wave, and like sacked my Hydreigon to paralyze this as well. though he was more likely going to go like Cobalion there, so it would have changed things, but he gets the crit, which is annoying. I don't want to sack my Hydreigon because Hydreigon's still very nice against him. It checks this, it can do some work against the Spiritomb and the Pex, and I also want it for defog potentially. So I'm going to switch out. I'm going to go into my P2 here because I want to paralyze this thing. Like, that's my goal now. I'm going to go for the Discharge as he is just going to go into his Koba. Discharge does 25, telling me he's very bulky. So I'm just going to go back into my Landorus as he gets up rocks. Now here I make a misplay. I should have just gone for the Z Superpower right here and got rid of Cobalion. And leaving Landorus alive would have given me a thing that just OHKOs the Pex. It does a ton of damage to the Spiritomb, and it just pressures the Mew. It prevents it from recovering. But I'm going to go for the rocks, so thinking that he wouldn't be able to knock me out, I can't really explain my way out of this. I just misplayed here, and I went for rocks when I should have killed him with the Z Superpower, and he HP ices me and knocks me out. So that was a dumb play on my part. I should have kept it around. But here, I'm going to go into my Lop. I still have one more switch into rocks. I'm going to go for the high jump kick right here, just because I want to scare this thing out. And if he was the Choppleberry, I want enough damage to the point where I can feasibly knock him out with like 2 Dark Pulses from Hydreigon, or with Discharges from P2 or something like that. So we're kind of getting down to crunch time. I'm going to save my Lop since I still have one more switch in, and my Reuniclus is an easy switch. He shows me knockoff here, which is a little annoying since I lose my Orb. And here I'm just going to click Recover as he goes back into his Spiritomb. Now the Spiritomb is going to be a problem. I'm going to switch into my Hydreigon just expecting the Dark move to come out, and he goes for the Icy Wind and he misses. Now this is unfortunate. Kind of reasoned out that it was sort of hacks for hacks since he misses an Icy Wind, my Hydreigon gets crit. Had I not gotten crit, I would have lived the Icy Wind, but it still hacks, it still sucks. But what this is going to allow me to do is fire off a Dark Pulse, which is going to let me get a big hit off on his team as he elects to go into his Mew right here. Now, I wasn't switching my Hydreigon out at this point, I don't think. I was just going to keep on spamming Dark Pulse. If he brought in the Pex, I was just going to T-Wave it and then just spam Dark Pulse and try and get Lefty's recovery back. If he brought in Cobalion, I was just going to spam Dark Pulse and hopefully Paraflinch it down. Like, that was my game plan. But he goes into Mew, and I'm just going to keep on clicking Dark Pulse, not allow him to recover, not allow him to set up. He goes for Ice Beam and knocks me out. And now I've killed the Mew now. I go for the Power Punch right here just to make it so that he can't freely recover with his Pex. I knew Power Punch would knock him out. He has no reason to switch his Mew out because he has no removal. My removal is gone. He is dead to rocks. Unless he wanted to keep sack fodder, but at this point it didn't seem necessary. And at this point, the advantage is in my favor. I'm going to go for the Facade. Does a lot of damage, and here I make kind of a weird play and go into my P2. I just want to see if I can like knock him out with like a crit discharge or something. It doesn't do enough, and he's just going to be able to recover that off because Toxapex is stupidly fat. And here I'm just going to I don't want to lose my I do not want to lose my Eviolite, so I'm just going to switch into my Reuniclus. I go for the Shadow Ball right here. There's no reason for me to click Psychic. Like, his play here is to get me on a turn I click Psychic and go into Spiritomb because I have a good chance to it KO his Spiritomb with Shadow Ball. And if I get the Spiritomb, then I win this game guaranteed. Like, he can't do anything with this Reuniclus or with this Pex against my Reuniclus. So my play here is just click Shadow Ball. Psychic would be the impatient play, but I'm going to be patient here. I'm going to click Shadow Ball once again. He goes into the Spiritomb. Now it's a roll whether I 2-hit KO it right here. It does 25, and I need a higher roll on 27 to knock him out. He goes for Dark Pulse. It does a lot. I'm going to Shadow Ball, and I do knock him out. So I don't know if that's luck, but rolls aren't luck. Rolls are just rolls. It's part of the game. But basically, I'm able to get the roll in my favor and get rid of his Spiritomb, and all he has left is 2 Mons that cannot beat my Reuniclus. He doesn't have Iron Head on his Cobalion, so I've won the game at this point, so I'm just going to speed it up to fast. I go for the Psychic. It does a ton. I get a Spadef drop. I accidentally click Shadow Ball right here. I was meaning to click Trick Room, I think, or Psychic. I don't remember which, but at this point, I'm just going to recover it off, make sure he didn't have Iron Head or something. just being safe, but he doesn't have Iron Head, so I can just knock him out with the Psychic, and that's going to be the game. So this was a very intense match. It was a little hacksy on both ends. I got lucky, he got lucky. It's just kind of how it goes sometimes. But regardless of the luck, it was still a very well played match. I do believe I made a few mistakes, or misplays rather. I should have just killed the Cobalion when I had the chance with my Landorus, because leaving Landorus alive would have given me essentially a free kill on something, or like a U-turn. Oh, some very loud noise just happened and it scared me. Yeah, I should have just taken the kill with my Landorus when I had the chance instead of getting up rocks, but rocks were beneficial into it carrying the Spiritomb, which was kind of my, that was my rationale for going for that, and I think I was also just hoping they'd get full parried. But regardless, I got the win, which I'm very happy about, so we're now 3-2, so we are in the positive. We are in, I believe we're in second place now. We surpassed Jay for this week, but we're very, very close. Yeah, we're super close. We're able to knock off one of the 2 remaining undefeated teams in Omega, and we are playing the last remaining undefeated team next week, and that's Sebi, and he's got the Magearna, so Merc got 6-0 by Magearna, yeah, funny. That's going to be a good one, so make sure to look forward to it. Also, other NPL is coming up, or good NPL, or main NPL, or whatever you want to call it, is coming up. My draft analysis should be out soon. It might be out before this, I don't know. Who knows? But either way, I got some more stuff planned for y'all. School's getting busier, so hopefully I can manage it, but I'm having fun with it, especially since I'm not doing terrible now. But yeah, hope y'all enjoyed, and like, subscribe, comment, whatever. I don't really care that much, but I'd appreciate if you appreciate what I'm doing or something. I don't know. Whatever. Have a good day. I'll see you later. Bye.